Bloxugan has just received a massive update, and today I'm going to be exploring what the update has to do with the game, as well as my opinion on it. So, XP Overhaul adjusts the method of how XP is awarded to Bakugan. So, I think this just means that certain Bakugan will gain less or more XP depending on what tier they are. So, in Bloxugan, there's a tier system of A, B, and C. So, maybe A Bakugan get less XP. We'll just have to see what that kind of means later on as the update progresses. Ability adjustments, Aqua Guardian dropping from 2 to 1. I definitely think Aquas was a little strong during this patch for sure. I faced a few Aquas players and I definitely thought it was a little bit broken, but I don't know if they had to drop one entire negate. That's like a big nerf for sure, because I do remember they got 2 Aqua Guardian negating 2 ability cards, as well as a Water Refrain, which also can count as an ability negate or a chain negate, so it's just like negating every ability card that's not instantaneous. So that is a huge nerf to Aquas for sure. Dive Mirage reverted back to its original effect. So if you guys didn't know, Dive Mirage used to be where if you dived to your own card, it would actually nullify the gate card. So the original effect would be that if he dived to their own card, it would still keep the gate card effect if they wanted to open it. So I like this change. It's just kind of a little bit more of a counterbalance against losing one Aqua Guardian, but I definitely think this is nice because then Aquas players can still have a chance to open their Aqua merges with their own Bakugan. Another Aquas nerf, Aquas Triple Chain will no longer defeat if it's directly in battle with the caster. That's a big nerf too, because Aquas doesn't have a normal snipe card, because Aquas Triple Chain used to just let you cast it while it's in battle, and you could basically just wipe out the entire board. I don't know if they should have done both of these at the same time, nerfing Aqua Guardian and Aquas Triple Chain, because it might hurt Aquas a little too much. But yeah, I definitely think one of these would have been justifiable. I feel like both of them will make Aquas a little too weak. And then Ventus losing 1 Backdraft and 1 Air Battle. I don't really know how good Ventus was because I haven't played against anyone that was Ventus while I've been on Bloxugan, but I definitely think that Backdraft from Project was really OP, so I'd assume Backdraft here would also be really good. And I'm assuming because you could use Air Battle to basically just double team, losing a Air Battle is also pretty bad. So we'll see how this affects Ventus. I definitely will try every attribute in the game eventually when I have the funds for it. So I'm not 100% sure on how big of a nerf this is. Terra Crunch losing from 35 Gs to 30 Gs. I believe it's 35 Gs before for every gate card, and now it's losing to 30 Gs. I don't think that's a huge nerf. I could be wrong. Like if there's 6 cards on the field, sure, you're losing like 30 Gs. But I don't know how big of an effect 30 Gs is to begin with. So I would assume it's too conditional to be in most people's Subterra decks. So I'm assuming this isn't such a big deal. Magma Prominence dropping from Subterra 50 to Subterra 30. This is definitely well justifiable. I'm pretty sure Magna Prominence in Bloxugan, basically it converts anyone's command card or gate card to a Subterra attribute card. And so it's like a really strong gate card counter. So I think this is definitely justifiable. I would assume the Subterra 50 Magnum Prominence was just used really often in all Subterra decks before. Destroy Force down, dropping from -25 to -40 Gs. That is a huge conversion, by the way, because it's each Bakugan on the field, and the Darkest Starter deck has 3 of them. So I guess this is really helpful for beginners for playing Darkest, for sure. But I just don't think anyone that's like later in the game will still run Destroy Force down in comparison to running like more Oregano Revenge or more ability nulls. But that's definitely good for starter Darkest players. Griffin's Wing Burst adds 25 to all of the owner's Pyrus Bakugan. So it used to be 50 conversion, so now it's plus 25 to all of the owner's Pyrus Bakugan. I don't know if that's that good still. Like, I guess if you're setting down all of your Pyrus Bakugan and they're pretty high Gs, it can be pretty decent. But I guess at the other hand, like, they don't want their, like, C-tier Bakugan to be too strong. So, I guess it's okay. Oh, Venomous Beast Torrent Attack now adds 50 Gs to the Bakugan revived by Griffin. This gives you more of a reason to run it, because you still had, like, Pure Light, which instantly revives on your Bakugan. So I would assume that most people didn't run Griffin. I guess this gives you more incentive to run Griffin, because you can use like it as like a sacking Bakugan, and you can just bring in your best Bakugan back. Then new additions, Bakugan Sting Lash. You saw in the thumbnail they added Sting Lash, which is really cool. They gave Aquas a higher base Gs, which makes sense. I actually assumed that they would keep Aquas and Darkus the same, but that's interesting that they kept Darkus so low, because in the show they actually showed a Darkus Sting Lash as well. That was 320 Gs. But I guess it's good for Aquas considering they got so many nerfs in this update, that it starts at 320 and then Pyrus 310 and then Ventus Subterra Darkus 300. And then ability cards, Abyss Ruler, which is just the ability shown in the show. Sting Lash gains plus 100 Gs, 3 Sting Lash cards. Twin Machete Mantris gains plus 100 Gs, 2 Mantris cards. Slice Cutter subtracting 10 Gs from any opposing Bakugan, 2 for Mantris. And Sling Blazer immediately moves an allied or opposing Bakugan in battle to an adjacent card, 1 on Mantris. And Super Shard subtracts minus 75 Gs from any opposing Bakugan, 2 for Juggernaut. Okay, here are my thoughts on these ability cards. I think Sting Lash having able to use 3 Abyss Rulers pretty strong for sure. Like, in comparison to other C tier Bakugan other than Mantris, I think Abyss Ruler is definitely pretty strong, having 3 of them that are plus 100 Gs, because Reaper is a B tier Bakugan and it has 3 plus 75 Gs. So a C tier Bakugan getting 3 plus 100 Gs, definitely pretty strong. I can see a lot of people picking up Sting Lash if they like it, like they just like the Bakugan. And then Twin Machete, I don't really know if Mantris even really needs G boosts in the game compared to like just having him for utility purposes. Most of the time when you run Mantris, someone usually tries to rush Mantris because they want to get it off the field, which makes sense because it's a Bakugan that moves other Bakugan. So I don't really know how many people will actually incorporate Twin Machete to their decks, but it is cool to see that Mantris gets more versatility, especially since Mantris in the show had so much versatility with all those ability cards. I definitely don't think people will run Slice. Does not sound like it's worth an ability card slot for. Maybe for starters, if they get Slice Cutter or Twin Machete, like these two, for starting Darkus deck, this could definitely be helpful, but once you get further into the game, I highly doubt people would be running Slice Cutter. So my opinion on Sling Blazer, I've actually tried using it a few times against the NPC. I personally would not be running Sling Blazer in comparison with Marionette. And if you don't know what Marionette is, it basically allows you to move an opposing Bakugan anywhere on the field. And this doesn't have to be while it's in combat or anything. It can just do it whenever. Obviously, Sling Blazer says it's immediate, so that means it can't be nullified. But I personally just like the utility that Marionette provides in comparison. Because again, this is the scenario where Mantris has to be targeted in battle, and most people aren't going to pull out their Mantris that early unless they have an ability card. So I personally don't think it's worth bringing Sling Blazer instead of Marionette. I'd rather just keep 2 Marionettes in my deck. I guess it can be helpful in certain situations if they're pretty aggressive with rushing, but again, this is moving in battle, so if you're outside of battle, like, this is completely useless. And the gate card has to be adjacent, and usually when you go further in the battle, it's going to be harder and harder to get in situations where the gate cards are adjacent. So personally, I don't think this is worth bringing. Super Shard, so I mean, this isn't bad, but I don't know if you'd want to run more Juggernaut cards even if you used it. I guess if you starting out and you don't have a really good attribute cards, it definitely could be helpful to run Super Shard. But once you get later in the game, like, I don't think there would be a purpose for running that many G gain or G subtraction cards from Juggernaut. So I personally don't think people will pick this up as frequently. Again, character cards, Sting Lash, Warriors character cards coming out, that's cool, it just doubles their Gs. Command cards, Supernova, all Bakugan on the gate card have their power level swapped. This will definitely help in PvP situations when there's like people with over G'd Bakugan. I think it's very difficult for lower G players to battle against higher G players in general, just because of the fact that I feel like the playing passive with higher Gs is so easy to do. And so I definitely think this will be pretty helpful for lower Gs when a higher G player is trying to rush them. Hypermerge, transferring 100 Gs from your team's Bakugan to the opponent's Bakugan. This is just a 200 G conversion. It can be good in most situations where your Bakugan lands on it first, but in situations where you're leaving it to fate to decide where your Bakugan are moving. So like if 3 Bakugan are on the field and are on your cards and they have 3 Bakugan on their cards, it's a 50-50 who moves. So if you are unlucky and you get moved, you could be in a little bit more trouble for sure. Level down, all Bakugan with 400 or more Gs on this card loses 100 Gs. I definitely don't think this will be very useful. The minus 100 Gs that the level down provides, even if you're going against a higher G player, is not worth it compared to stuff like positive delta, negative delta, hypermerge, and those cards are way better, so I definitely don't think people would be running this card. Wall lock returns all Bakugan on this card to their base Gs and negates all ability cards earlier in the chain. I don't personally know how good this will be unless you have a really high base Gs. Because if you have a high base Gs and they use like a bunch of ability cards to try to outboost you and then you activate it, it could be pretty useful. It can also be kind of useful in situations where there's a big ability card chain and your Bakugan is just higher Gs, but in that situation, you'd have to like not open your wall lock, so it balances out in a way. But yeah, I think higher G players definitely will be probably looking to use wall lock more than lower G players. Peacemaker, all Bakugan on the gate card are returned to their owner's hands. I'm assuming Ventus has some gimmick around that, especially since they used to have 2 backdrafts. So I guess Ventus could be more useful. I don't see why people would use this if they're not playing Ventus, I guess. Maybe to stall just to get ability cards, but otherwise I don't really see a point because gate cards in this game are really scarce, and losing a gate card just for Peacemaker, I don't know, it wouldn't be worth it in my opinion. Quicksand Freeze, winning the battle stays on the card and has its G's lowered to 0. This can be really good for sacking for sure, where you can basically, if you know you're gonna lose and you're on this card, then you just like let it go instead of using more ability cards. So you're saving ability cards and guaranteeing that you get the next kill on their Bakugan. So I definitely feel like this is pretty good in conditional situations. Revive, the winner of the battle on the gate card has their Bakugan revived. Okay, this is really good. I don't know how many people will run this card, but I think out of all of them so far, this is probably the best card. Because again, Chaos already has a few revive ability cards, and so having a revive card on top of that will make Chaos even stronger. I definitely think this is probably the card that will be most used out of all these other cards so far. Magma Fuse, after the battle, destroys all gate cards on the field. I guess if you're in a losing situation where you have less gate cards than them and you have a Magma Fuse, it can be good for that purpose. Otherwise, I don't see a reason to use this as a command card slot for sure. Reinforcement, your Bakugan gains plus 100 Gs for each ally Bakugan of the same attribute in play. Again, in my opinion, there's just better gate cards. You don't need to be as conditional for other gate cards than this one, having to play extremely passive to make sure all of your Bakugan are on the field so you gain the maximum amount of Gs, which is 200 in this situation. I don't think it's necessary, to be honest. Nor is Reloaded, which is basically the same thing. Or actually, Reloaded is a little bit better because Reloaded is your own Bakugan on the field, and then Reinforcement is same attribute. So if you're playing Hybrid, Reloaded is definitely better, but otherwise I just wouldn't use any of them. It's nice to see that there's more voice lines for our characters: Masquerade, Klaus, Shun, Rikimaru, Nene, and Tatsuya. And then fixed Wormquake's hitbox. I'm assuming there was some problem with that, so that's cool that they fixed that. Hydra Striver now correctly moves targets to Griffin's gate card only. That's good. Hydra Striver is the Aqua's ability, and it's actually pretty strong. So I definitely like that they fixed that. And then fixed Tuskcor's nose clap, creating Ghost Bakugan on kill. That's also nice, because I actually run Tuskor. Fixed attribute lighting remaining on Bakugan after entering. I guess I haven't noticed that, but that's cool. It's really cool that the dev team is constantly fixing bugs, for sure. And then it's nice that they put the Darkest map back on, and yeah, I really like how the dev team on Bloxugan has been doing things so far. An update a week has really allowed this game to flourish for sure, and I hope that they continue to work on it as efficiently as they do now. Here's now a clip of the new Stinglash Bakugan being thrown in battle.
Bakugan, brawl! Bakugan, stand!